What is up, guys? Welcome to Developer Habits, a YouTube channel for software engineers about growth mindset, developer lifestyle, and technical tutorials. My name is Ketmar. I'm a full stack engineer from Estonia and also the creator of Developer Habits. In today's video, I'm going to share my tips for developers who plan to lead projects in the future. These thoughts are based on my own experience of leading a project with 5 developers for 3 months. Also, make sure to visit the article I've mentioned in the description, as it contains even more tips that I didn't include in the video. With that said, let's get started. Tip number 1. It all starts from requirements. You can't start building if you don't know what to build. So the first thing you should do is talk to the stakeholders. Let them describe what they need and try to understand each detail of their requirements. That said, keep a critical mind towards the requirements. As it's easy to get carried away with nice-to-have features, question what value does each requirement bring. Are they actually necessary or can they be dropped? Tip number 2. Plan the technical part. Some people like to start building things right away. Well, I tried that and failed multiple times. That's why I believe it's necessary to plan and research. After gathering the requirements, planning the technical part should follow. Come up with an initial architecture and tech stack. Compare different solutions and try to find cons and pros for each one of them. To gather even more ideas, talk to your colleagues. If there are any unknowns in the tech stack, validate them by building a minimum viable product. Trust me, it will save you tons of headache in the future. Tip number 3. What you've prepared is not set in stone. I'm a fan of agile development. And one of the best things about agile development is that it's open to changes. Inspired by that, I advise you to use all your research and all your planning as a guideline, not as something that is set in stone. For example, in my latest projects, I plan to use Kafka for sharing data between various data centers. During the project, we decided that for the first version, there's no need to complicate things by having information stored in different data centers. A big decision that had a huge impact on the architecture. But in the end, and at the moment, I'd say it was the correct decision. Tip number 4. Make sure everybody understands the plan. It's important to take time, especially in the beginning, to make sure that each member of the team knows what you're going to build, how you're going to build it, and why you're going to build it in that particular way. It's important for various reasons. For example, team members can understand why each task is needed. They can provide ideas for improvements. Also, when you're away, people know how to move forward. But most importantly, during the project, everyone can see what's the progress of the project and see what's waiting ahead. Tip number 5. Minimize the dependency on others. In order to save time and have a nice workflow, try to minimize all the dependencies on others, or at least start working on them at the very beginning of the project. For example, if you need a design for the project, let the designers provide you with their work before you go on the project. And also make sure to check if everything is clear to you as a developer and a project lead. Tip number 6. Make an extra effort for chunking the tasks. About grading the tasks. Break them into small chunks and ideally provide a how-to or suggestions for the solutions. It makes it easier to build, test and review, but also give developers a greater sense of accomplishment. Tip number 7. Always be at least one step ahead. As a project lead, you must always have the bigger picture in front of you. When team members or stakeholders, for example, want to know what's coming next, you should be the one to know the answer. Tech-wise, you must know how various parts connect together. When people ask you about the connection between various tasks, you must be able to explain them what's going on. My advice here is to start the week with an early morning and go over the upcoming week and the whole project. Tip number 8. Keep the meetings to the point. Meetings. I'm not a fan of them because it takes time away from all the participants. That said, they are necessary, and that's why it's vital to make them as efficient as possible. My advice? Make sure that with every meeting you have an agenda and a list of expected results. Share them with the participants beforehand so they could also prepare. And when discussions go off topic, bring people back to the main topics. Tip number 9. Team culture is important and you've got a role to play. One thing I had not thought about before but learned during the project is the importance of creating a team culture. It's easy to take it for granted when you are building projects with people you already know, but in my case, with the latest projects, many of the teammates didn't know each other before. To fix that, one of the teammates nudged us to have various team events and team lunches. Tip number 10. Have one-on-ones. I'm a huge fan of one-on-ones. Your team members have their thoughts and ideas for improvements, and one-on-ones are a great way to hear them out. That's the place to discuss various technical but also non-technical topics and find solutions to problems. It's also the place where you as a project lead can hear them out on topics that are not discussed publicly. By having one-on-ones with all of your teammates, you have a whole picture of how everyone's doing, what their ambitions are, but also provide advice and guidance. Tip number 11. Delegate and trust others. One person can't know everything and do everything. That's why I advise you to delegate as much as possible. When there are business questions and you do have a separate product manager, let him or her handle all of the business questions. Tech-wise, I found it useful to distribute focus. I set myself as the lead of backend development and my teammate as the lead of front-end development. It turned out to be a good idea as I could put more effort into guaranteeing the functionality of the backend development, but also take care of the management side of things. So, based on that experience, I dare to say that sharing your responsibilities with others makes your life easier and less stressful. Tip number 12. Be the one who clears the road. During my last project, it happened quite often that there were issues with environment or smaller bugs that stopped others from working. As I wanted the team to continue building the features and functionality, I took it upon myself to fix the blockers. Good examples of such situations are tasks related to setting up repositories, creating databases, or setting up linters. It's the work that has to be done, and it's not always fun, but if you do that, it makes others' lives easier. There's actually a 13th tip that I'd like to give, and based on my experience, it's also the most important one. At some point during the project, I forgot that I'm the project lead and let the developer in me take over. When I felt the pressure of time and we had bigger obstacles, I found that explaining everything to everybody would just lose us time. So I decided to solve them by myself. In the end, I got things done, but building the solution usually took more time than expected. And it was also hard for others to help me because they didn't know what I'm doing and they didn't know the context. But even more importantly, as I got swollen into coding the solutions, the quality of preparing for the meetings or grading tasks went down. And this did not only affect me or my teammates, but also the whole project. That's why I advise you to always let the team know of what's going on and break bigger problems into smaller chunks. So guys, this is it. My tips for developers who'd like to lead a project in the future. If you did like this video or you're interested in growth mindset, developer lifestyle, or technical tutorials for mostly web developers, then please do hit the subscribe button below. I thank you for listening and watching and see you in the next video. Bye!